Hey everyone, this is Rob from Sling Financial. Today we're going to work through a budget for a married couple with a baby and how they can get their budget back on track. If you haven't watched any of our initial tutorials on where to download our forms, please click the link and watch those videos first. If not, you can head over to slingfinancial.com, visit the toolkit section in the navigation bar, and download your budget from there. So again, let's start with this family's first budget. They've taken their last 3 months of expenses and figured out the average, got a feel for what they're spending their money on, and they've decided to get their life on track now that they're married and have a baby to care for. So they're on a single income of $96,000 after tax. So we just put that here. You know, we'll say dad's staying at home taking care of the baby, and mom decided to go back into the office after maternity leave, and she's bringing home around $8,000 monthly and is paid by monthly, so around $4,000 twice a month. So that's how we set that up here. And so we have that information, and you want to position your budget with the end of the month paycheck. So in this case, we're going to say this is for an November budget, and we're going to use the last paycheck of October on 10/31 to start with. And then you're going to use your second paycheck on the 15th. So these are the two paychecks, if you're paid bi-monthly, that you're going to use for the month of November. And, you know, if you're going to do the month of December, you'd be doing the 11th, 30, if there's a 30 on, I think it's the 30th, and the 15th of December. And so that's how you would plan your monthly budget based on those checks of where they drop. So now let's go down to our monthly expenses here, okay? And so they have a mortgage here, and included in that is their taxes and their insurance, so that's all bundled. And let's say it's $2,500 a month. And their groceries are here, and they've spent almost $1,600 a month. That is pretty high, and so, you know, we put in some numbers here as an example to where we could adjust the budget and find some money to fix some things and to get back on track, especially in this instance. You can see we have some of their utilities here. They spend around $2,400 a year on propane delivery. That's where they get their heat from. And so what they did here is kind of did a little bit of a sinking fund that they need to save $200 a month in a separate account, in an envelope, however you want to do that. So when the time comes to buy heat, they will be able to do that. And so this is a good way to do that, prepare for, you know, next year and so on and so forth. Keep it consistent, keep saving money so you don't get, hey, you know, maybe propane's really expensive this year, so maybe they have to do a fill and it's $1,500. Well, it's a lot nicer when you've been saving previous months at $200 a month, so you don't get whacked so hard in one single paycheck or one single month. So again, it would be nice if you use this right column to keep some notes, keep tracks of some things here, and I'll go through what some of this means in a second, but it's not necessary, but it's a nice way to kind of get a feel for what's going on in your expenses. So this family does have some debt, you know, beyond some of these their cell phones and other payments. They do have two car payments here. One's $450, one $400, so $850 a month they have to, you know, put forth in car payments, which is a big chunk. That's almost 10% of their income every month. That kind of hurts. Actually, it's more than 10%. And so I put in here the debts on what they owe. Part of our process is definitely making sure you're listing out your debts, figuring out what you owe, and you'll use the debt snowball form for that. If you haven't watched that video, go on over and check that out. You definitely should list all your debts if you have any, and you can include your mortgage in that too. It's not the debt we recommend getting rid of first, of course. Definitely get rid of car payments, credit card payments, student loans, health bills, all those sorts of things that you need to get rid of as quickly as possible. Use the debt snowball method, which is paying the smallest amount, smallest debt that you owe to the largest, while maintaining minimum monthly payments. That's what you want to do. That's how you want to attack it. So in this case, we're not going to show that form, but we are going to keep where their debts are so we can work some things out and figure out how to free up some money in their budget. So again, this family has some other debts, $3,000 in credit card debt. They pay about $150 a month. Two student loans here, one at $600, one at $200 a month. The $600 one's a bigger payment. It's about $15,000 that they still owe, and $4,500 on the lowest one. So here you can see a bunch of different subscriptions I put in here, what they're paying monthly. They also have Hulu, live TV instead of cable. You might have cable up here. That depends on what you're interested in. So they do have a lot of subscriptions for watching TV, and maybe it's time to cut some of these out and do some extra work instead. Maybe get a side job, maybe start a side business, do something else. They have an Amazon Prime. They pay the monthly they could cut this down by doing a yearly payment. So that would save, let's see, $180, so $40 a year. Nothing great. If you want to keep it monthly because you might want to cancel it at one point, you can go that route as well. So they have since they just had a baby, they have baby formula and diapers listed out here. This is an important one. This is probably one you can't get rid of, and that's why we're going to keep it separate. Sometimes people budget this within their grocery list because that's where they pick these things up. We're going to keep these separate because there's no way you're gonna deny your baby formula or diapers. You're gonna have to figure out a way to make this payment. This is a really important one. We know that she has to go to work sometimes. Maybe she's partially remote, but she still has to go into the office. They still have to drive places, doctor's appointments, play dates, library for reading time for the baby, whatever you need to do, visit family. We're going to put a $300 gas budget there. And then they also have an issue. They have a roof that needs to be fixed. And so they need to do this by next spring. So we're going to say in 6 months, they need to figure out how they can save $1,400 a month to get to this, an estimate of $8,500. They know they need to get to that ballpark of what it's going to cost to get a new roof in their house. And so that's what they need to save. So here you can see they're spending $8,500 a month. They are living beyond their means because they only bring in $8,000 right now. So one thing they could do, maybe they have family in the area and someone can watch their baby while the husband goes back to work part-time. Or maybe the wife can pick up some overtime depending on what she does for a living. There's ways to kind of up the ante on your income. That's the first step. But there are definitely some things here that we can fix, that we can get rid of to lower this amount. Now we also have the variable spending area. And so this is something we can probably, in most cases, definitely get rid of. So we saw that over the last 3 months, they were averaging about $550 at restaurants and takeout. Yuck. Entertainment, $450. They do have a baby. Maybe the baby's getting older and they want to take it to certain museums and experiences. That's important, but maybe we can lower that. Car service, you can't really avoid oil changes if you're driving and all those things. Home improvement costs, they spent almost $300 a month average. In gifting, they were spending about $100. That seems kind of low. Probably, if you have family, you have birthdays and you have Christmas, this number might become like a sinking fund and you might have to save this. It's great to give to people. It's great to live your life and share your wealth with other people. And it's always great to give a gift to someone. I mean, that's really important. So if we go down here and we see everything, they are really going into debt more with credit cards. This is not good. We got to figure out how we can fix their budget if they can't change their income. So in this instance, we're going to pretend that they can't change their income and we're going to fix whatever we can. One other small note here is that they have about $15,000 in savings that they put away because they knew they were going to need a roof, or they might need it, or they thought maybe they could have an emergency fund to feel safe. So at least they have this to work with. This is going to help us get rid of some of the debts, and maybe we can use some of this for the roof. We're going to kind of freestyle here and figure out what we can do to fix this budget. So let's start here with this. We have $15,000 in savings. Now, for me personally, when I was getting out of debt, I always wanted to keep about a month's worth of expenses, including my mortgage, and then another month of just my mortgage. That made me feel a little bit comfortable knowing that I had about 60 days to be in my home in case I lost my job. My wife is a nurse, but she's currently a stay-at-home mom raising our 2 kids, and so she could easily go back to work and make some money. There's no shortage of nursing jobs. But in case we both had trouble getting a job within that 2 months, at least we know we had our home. At least we know for 30 days, really 60 days, we were going to have utilities before we had to make that next payment. So that is really how I lived. And so I might maybe we can work with the savings. Maybe we can bring it down closer to 5 or 4 or 3,000. At least they have some in the bank in case there is that emergency, that there's a job loss or anything. So this is what I would do. You do what feels comfortable for you. And so we're going to work down the savings a little bit to get rid of some of this debt. Maybe let's go up here. So let's talk about the debt. We have a car debt, 2 cars. One is really big. And I think they might be able to get away with selling a car. And the reason I would recommend that is that they do have one of the parents is staying at home, so there's really no need for 2 cars. And if the other parent, in this case the mom, is working half remote, she's going to be home most of the time if there is an emergency. I guess you can do a judgment on this. If you want to buy a cheaper car, you could, but let's say they sell the car instead. And we're just going to free up that $22,000 in debt, and we're going to free up that $450. Let's say they can sell it back to the dealer for that price. There might be a little bit of a lower price, or maybe you sell a private sale. You figure out how you can get rid of this car. So let's get rid of that car. And we're going to keep it on here just so we have it. We don't want to delete the column just yet because this is all hypothetical. So let's say we get that payment gone. So that's $0. And let's say they don't owe anything. We'll keep that there, $22,000, just so we remember. But let's put it in black just so we're not thinking about it too much because it's kind of gone. So, all right, we got this available cash now down to $1,500 by just selling a car. And that kind of hurts, and I understand the sacrifice, but there's a lot of debt we need to take care of here, and there's a lot we need to work on here. Let's bring that car back in, and let's do it by just trimming some things we don't necessarily need. So let's look at this, and let's say groceries. I think they can get this grocery bill down. I got this grocery bill down. I don't spend this much, and I have 2 kids. So let's bring it down to, let's say $1,200. And the reason I say let's do that is because we're going to cut out all of the restaurant. We're done going out for at least a couple months, maybe a half year, maybe a year, just so we can get our life back on track. It's very important to sacrifice in the short run so you can make out in the long run. So let's get rid of that. Cool. All right, we already cut almost all that debt in half just by doing that. If you need to up this grocery bill back a little bit, you can. We'll find other ways to cut some money. Entertainment, understand it's important. If you have a baby or young kids, they're not going to remember. You can play make-believe in the house. You can do things in the yard. You can go to families and friends places without spending money. So parks are free. There's so many things that are free and cheap, but let's say you do want to take your kid out to a couple museums a month. So let's change this to, let's say you want to do something once a weekend and it's $20. So let's change this to 80. Maybe you do something once a month and it's only $80. So that's going to cut us down a lot. So now we're down to $668. We're almost back to even. We need to get to even somehow. So let's keep working on it. Car service, you're not going to get around those. Home improvement, maybe we can sacrifice what we change. In the short term, we're getting a roof in 6 months. That's a big ticket item. That's more important. Let's say we're not going to do anything. We're going to hope we don't. You might have to do a sinking fund for small fixes when you need to call a plumber or an electrician. Maybe you can do it yourself. Maybe you learn. Maybe you have a family or friend that can help you, but let's just bring that to zero. We're going to have this money in a sinking fund anyways, and we have some savings left that we can tap into if we do have an emergency. Gifting, let's keep that at 100. It's very important to give, especially to family, Christmas, birthdays. Let's keep that there. So let's look at some of this. So we have Hulu Live. That's a lot of shows, a lot of movies. Maybe we can get rid of some of these until the baby is older. So let's get rid of Disney. We're going to hold off on that. Sorry, Star Wars and Marvel fans. And we're going to get rid of Netflix. Sorry, Stranger Things fans. No more of that. Okay, now that wasn't a big dent, but we're going to keep working on this. Let's get rid of Spotify. There's this thing called the radio. It's free. And Amazon Prime, we'll keep that. We'll keep that. We'll keep that. We'll keep the roof fund at that price for now. Okay, so now let's look at our debt and our savings. So we still have $15,000 in our savings that we can work for. We got this down to $359, which is really good. We're almost back to even. We got to get above that. We want to have available cash so we can really attack debt and build wealth in life. All right, so let's see what we can do. We can't change the mortgage. We change groceries. Electric bill, you can start shutting off lights. You might not save that much. It's hard to judge what that's going to do. Heat, we figured out. Cell phones we're going to keep. Internet we got to keep because of work. We're going to keep Hulu Live. Okay, so let's look at the debts we have. This car is a very big payment, and I would recommend selling it, but I think we can do some damage and get this car paid off if we want to keep it because they don't have too much in cars. It's $26,000 given today's prices. That's actually not a bad deal. So let's follow the debt snowball method, which would be getting rid of the smallest debt. So let's pay off our credit card. So we're going to bring that $150 back into our lives by paying off $3,000. Come on, computer, don't give up on me now. And we're going to get rid of this payment as well next. So let's drop this down to $12,000 since we paid $3,000 from our savings. And let's pay this car off. $4,000. So that's going to bring us down to $8,000 in savings. This should be green. Now that we're in the green, and we have $8,000 left in savings. It's cool. So 600 there got us back up above water. So that's pretty good. That makes us happy. But there's still a lot of debt here. What else can we get rid of? Let's get rid of student loan. That is the next one. So let's get rid of that. Okay. So now you can see how we were able to free up some cash. We freed up about $400. Luckily, they had some in savings to help get that down. Otherwise, they would have had to add to their income. They would have had to sacrifice a lot more of their spending. This is, part of the game. They could have sold their car, which would actually really add some more savings. That would probably be a big step, especially if you don't need 2 cars in the short term. That would be a great move to, just get rid of $22,000 in debt, but also get rid of that $450 a month payment. I mean, that would free up now $850 of money in the green, money that you could bring home after working. So that is how you can work through a budget. That's how you can solve it. Hopefully that tutorial helped you. Thanks for joining. Hey, if you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing to Sling Financial's YouTube page. We appreciate the support. Thanks all.